I am live on the computer. You're shitting me. You're shitting me. I can't. There's no way to. I mean, you could go. You just want to go watch. I guess that's fair enough. Ah, it's on. You know, the YouTubes right now. That's hilarious. You just got a notification. I love this. Hi, everybody. Finally. All right. So I guess we'll end this other non thing, and I'll see you in the chat, girl. Thanks for trying. Bye. Mm. Well, um, on the bright side, I get to listen to my music while I read. Holy crap. That was a whole lot of technical difficulties for no apparent reason. I'm so sorry. Anyone who wants, was interested in Bexwold Part 2, um, I just tried to do that for 20 plus minutes and it would not let me connect. Would not connect me. I had her streaming, in my ear. I can talk to somebody on the other. That was fun. I can talk to someone on the other side of the continent, but I can't connect to my own Wi-Fi. What? That made no sense. No sense. I guess we'll hang out for 5 minutes till the top of the hour and see. I mean, I don't know. We're gonna hang out for a minute. I missed the chit chat. That was fun. Oh well. I get to sit here and chit chat with myself. Anyway, let me see if I can get into the thing that I need to get into for one thing, because I did not have it brought up already. Because of course not. This one doesn't take me off the microphone when I click away, does it? You can still see and hear me even though I'm in another tab, right? Unlike the phone where everything else I do, you'd be there if you could. I know, honey. I know. I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you. Oh my goodness. Anyway, um, there we go. I don't want to make a passkey right now. Please leave me alone. Please just do what I need to do. Please. Oh my god. Yay! It's coming up, I think. Oh my gosh. You can still see and hear me when I'm doing other things. That's good because I have to have. I know. I need a passcode, but I don't want to do it right now. It's a little. Right now? Really? Right now? That's Microsoft being Microsoft. And I'm a little antsy because this is the first coffee I've had in like a month. It's very weak, but I went ahead and did it because I didn't want to be sleepy for this here. I'm glad I'm not because I know that's not why. I can't get this shit to work. So here's to that. Delicious. Okay, let's see how we're doing. Loading. Watch this not load either. Oh my goodness. What is going on? Oh, good. Oh, that's Copilot. Fuck off, Copilot. Go away. Page 1 of 2. And counting. Yes. Yes. 10. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna have the jitters. Oh, it's no. It's I've been sipping on this since 10 o'clock. So that's going on 3 hours. It's all good. But thank you for you know. I have the jitters. I had the jitters anyway. Because, you know, I have to read my stuff to the world again, and this isn't helping anything that it isn't cooperating. Come on, please. It still says there's 10 pages. Oh, 135. There we go. There we go. Okay. 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 I get the jitters if I drink more than one cup. Well, this is my one cup in a month. So, you know, and it's going to be my last one for a while. I don't know exactly how long. I've basically just not, I just basically just don't anymore. Have you always been sensitive to caffeine or is it just coffee? Um, so just to double check one last time, you can see and hear me when I'm over there looking at that, right? Because so help me if I spend 2 hours sitting here reading and nobody can hear me. Just coffee? Oh, that's weird. You have any idea why? Is it the tannins or whatever? Just yeah, please reassure me that you can still hear me when I'm in the other tab because so I haven't been cutting in and out. Nope, no clue. Oh, that sucks. Everybody has something, I guess. Lately, I can't eat bananas. They make me so gassy. You can hear me fine even when I pop in and out of the tab. Okay, because I haven't been popping in and out of. That was fun. Some buffering there. Okay. Well, I will be. You know what? I can put them in two separate windows. Obviously. Here we go. There we go. I do know how to compute. I do. I swear. Oh, that's fun. Just random other windows to open. No, don't do the full size thing. Don't do that. All right. Resizing stuff. Now I can see you guys and the thing at the same time. Swell. Just taking our time. At this point, we're only an hour late, technically, so half an hour from when I was saying this morning. Oh my goodness, did you see the comment that Belle left about your wish was granted, Belle. Belle was like, can you just do a video like the chit chat's nice basically the chit chat's nice and all, but can you like do a video of just you reading the thing? Which like yes. Um but that's basically all this is going to be, so wish granted there, my friend. Where were we? Did we get through chapter 5? I want to say we finished. Don't know. I want to say I wish. See, the next thing I'm gonna do is print out hard copies just to fucking have them. I'm just gonna bite the bullet and go over to Office Max and pay $100 or whatever it's gonna be. 10 cents a page. I don't know. For all of them, it'll probably be $50, something like that. To just have them, so that I could have put a fucking bookmark in it, and just simple material, physical things like that. We got through the scene with the cook and the whatever. Yeah. Okay, chapter 4. Okay, yeah. Okay, and the needlework scene. Oh, okay. No, we got through chapter 4. We got to chapter 5 because we did not start with the trip south yet. That was a good place to stop. Oh, okay. So we begin in chapter 5, just after we discovered the cave with the glowing lichen. Um, and I was gonna have you, maybe take up a little time for me for a second, but just hold on for a second, you guys, just before we get started. Just a little nervous. All right. So, beginning back at chapter 5. Spring blossoms had wilted into summer green before Charlie came home again. Mrs. Lawler propped the deep leather suitcase open across my settee, her striped skirts bobbing and billowing behind her as she crisscrossed the room, piling things into it. What about these sweaters? She cracked open a drawer. Perhaps not. It's quite temperate there. She tossed me a quick smile. Closing the drawer, she paused. Well, maybe just one. She pulled it open again to keep the wind off those skinny shoulders. The locomotive appeared less monstrous, and I was tall enough to step across the deep, foggy gap on my own. Lulu had claimed a window seat. Feet tucked beneath her, she leaned forwards on her knees to clasp the sill, face nearly through the open window. Ah, I feel like in a second the window is closed. So, this is a rough draft, you guys. This is draft 2. I don't know. Shoes down, Ida Louise. She flung herself back, straightening out with a jerk before looking up. Oh, Coco, she grimaced. You're such a pain. Her skein of yarn knocked my grin gently askew, tumbling against the door and onto the carpet. She pulled her legs up. She pulled up her legs again, leaning back towards the window. Tell me about when she took you to London. Was the train as big as this? Bigger. I snatched up her fuzzy pink bundle, falling onto the cushioned bench just out of the way of the swinging compartment door. I won't be a bother, I swear. George's voice was tense and measured. Just put in a good word, and you'll hardly know I'm there. Charlie folded his wiry frame into the corner with a heavy sigh. You just don't understand. Freddie closed the door behind them. Georgie landed heavily beside Charlie. I just need one. Charlie snapped his head round to face him. It is social suicide to be associated with underclassmen. Fred settled beside George, hands folded on his knees, tossing me a titillated smirk. Georgie scoffed. They'll know we're brothers, old man. All the more reason. Georgie sat back, deflated. What am I doing in the kiddie car, anyhow? Charlie spoke out the window. Father said we would ride in the smoking car. Fred shot me a look. I strangled back a giggle. Something funny, feral girl? Charlie turned his heavy gaze on me. I shrugged. She would never allow that. Mother wants to be involved in everything. He tented his long fingers. You are taking after her, I suppose. I looked away, crossing the floppy sleeves of my cardigan over my lap. The cry of a whistle outside drew him back to the window. This is my last summer in the middle of nowhere, he declared. I'll spend Christmas in London. That will show her. Shouting voices meant we would be moving any second. There was a tug at my elbow, little fingers digging into my arm as we lurched towards the boys, then back against the bench. Lulu's eyes and mouth were wide. Here we go, she giggled. The locomotive slowed almost imperceptibly at first, puffs of steam billowing in hard rays of sun as its long body slid alongside the platform. We jerked to a stop. Lulu bounced through the doorway, and I followed. Bigger than Newcastle, clusters of black hats were like minnows in the flow of the crowd. Stepping back across the gap, the platform swayed with invisible waves beneath my new summer shoes, and I wobbled after the others, following a thin young man in a dark blue uniform. He led us through the sea of faces, under the long shadowy station and the ticket windows, gawking blankly at it all. And past the ticket windows? We're not going under the ticket windows. Anyway, a carriage waited by the curb on the other side. Hurry now, Mother beckoned from inside. We'll be there for supper. Charlie folded himself next to Father, Georgie and Freddie close behind. Lulu climbed up beside Mother, careful not to ruffle her skirts. I squeezed in. The door was closed, and we were moving again. Mother clapped her hands through white linen gloves. Not long now. Green hills, like the backs of giant turtles, rocked us gently across the countryside. Lulu held back a yawn, her eyelids slipping as she settled against me. I listened to her slow, even breath, edgeless fields blurring into one giant turtle swimming against choppy seas. The probing beam of a lighthouse melted into the glow of street lamps. Keeping still, I could see Mother silhouetted against the open window, nearly leaning out of it. Storefronts glowed meekly, overpowered by the street. I wedged the back of my hand against my eyes as the carriage slowed, rounding a turn. We're here, she showed Father a grin. Wonderful to see the old place again. He smiled back. We left the brightly lit street behind us, and I sat up as far as I could without Lulu's cheek slipping from my arm. We were rolling through a portcullis high in a lone stone archway. Ahead, a broad circular drive lounged across a flat lawn. White gravel, glimmering in light from the great house, crouched on the far side. Making a neat stop before the big steps, the driver stayed in his perch while we were surrounded by a swarm of men in red uniforms. I stumbled on stiff joints against the cool breeze wafting from the open front door. Blinking in the front hall, I could make out bright colors running up every wall to a distant ceiling. Painted trumpets sounded silent fanfare, calling many robed men with torches. Noble steeds pranced beneath, angels circling above. A gray figure appeared at the top of the stairs. He made his way down and into the light, gray waistcoat and whiskers floating past the vibrant heroism until he was crossing the checkered floor towards us. Livy, he smiled, taking Mother's gloved hand. Billy, she thrust his hands aside, throwing her arms around his neck and leaning up to kiss him. So good to see you. Falling back on her heels, she smirked. You look awful. A little smile showed behind the whiskers. You're no better. Such a sight. And those children, he swept an arm towards us. What have you done to them? Her sharp laugh echoed off stone and plaster. They just keep on growing, don't they? I'm at my wit's end. Bill shook his head. You feed them too much. Another ringing peal of laughter. And what of yours, William? Not here to greet us? His hands found his hip pockets. Due back last week, actually. She will have to come home sooner or later. A red uniform approached, leaning in to whisper in his ear. The East Suite, of course, he replied aloud. Plenty of room for the girls, with the boys on the other side. The girls? Her white glove burrowed into the fabric at her hip. Where will Augie and I? The guest suite, naturally. Bill turned back the way he had come. Much better for, married couples, you know. Mother followed on his heels, with Father close behind. Charlie, Georgie, and Freddie trudged up together, faces downcast. Lulu clung to me while I clung to the banister, our new shoes sliding on the thick carpet. Mother was away for a few days with Aunt Teddy, the two of them hardly quiet since the lady of the house had returned. Left in the nursery, Lulu and I watched from a corner of the rug as Cousin Betty towered over Cousin Bee. It's mine, she screeched, so we do what I want. Little Bee stood before a chest full of toys, clutching a naked baby doll. But it's my turn. No, it's mine, so we do what I say. Heavy footfalls approached. What's the matter? A round woman in a brown frock and apron filled the doorway. Bee and Betty both answered at once, but she didn't wait for explanations before swooping into the room, snatching the floppy body from Bee's grip and placing it on a high shelf. Enough of that. Bee whined loudly, little hands and tight fists. You have your cousins to play with. Why not open up the box your granny sent you? Betty dashed across to another large box near the opposite wall. Pushing back the lid, inside was filled with satin and silk, beads and sequins. She dove in with a squeal, bright colors spilling onto the floor. Lulu stood up, crossing slowly. She reached in, pulling back something orange before looking up to see me still sitting. Don't you want to try one? Bee was leaning far into the box, toes barely touching the floor. Betty looked up, following Lulu's questioning gaze. Come on, said Betty, taking a step towards me. You have to play with us, cousin. I shrugged, my blue dress tucked around my legs. Aren't we a bit old for dress up? But she was crossing the rug. You can change back into that ugly thing later. My wrists found each other in my lap, fingers wrapping my forearms, the hardcover of my brown book in my pocket, pressing against my thigh. Get up. She was standing over me now. You have to play with us. I stared up at her, round face surrounded by ragged yellow curls. No. Yes. She grabbed the strap of my pinafore. You have to play with us. I resisted. You'll get your ugly frock back. She tugged me towards the box. I pulled against her, my palms now planted on the rug. I don't want to. Well, you have to, so come on. She gave a great yank, tugging my bottom up off the floor. There was the sound of popping stitches, and the strap of my pinafore came free, slipping between her fingers. I landed back on the rug with a thud. What in heaven's name? The woman in brown had reappeared, stomping over and catching Betty by the hair. How many times have I told you? Betty was dragged from the room, writhing and snarling. Lulu stood, draped in orange, mouth open. Wisps of thread dangled from the flopping corner of my pinafore. The warm, dusty air stuck in my throat, bringing a bead of sweat to my brow. Coco! Lulu's voice behind me. I squeezed through a door in the back of the room, following a narrow passage to an even narrower flight of stairs. This delivered me to a dark corridor below, the smell of cooking wafting from one end. At the other, I saw cracks of daylight. Bursting through, I was momentarily blind. Blinking away tears, I faced a calm sea of grass shaded evenly by tall, rounded trees. I ran between them, hoping in vain for real shadows. Breath burning, I finally spotted a burly old walnut tree. Where is that? Pages of my internal compendium fluttered. Walnut, walnut. Tilting towards it, I came to rest against its thick, gray-brown leaves. Adrift, my legs wilted, and I slid to the ground, brushing cool moss with my fingers. I wiped my face with my hands, calculating how many days I had left in this place. Something in the distance caught the sun, glinting in my eye. I stood up, my new shoes sinking into the soft turf. There was some sort of building. Shading my eyes, I drifted closer till I could make out a little house, shimmering like water, with a dark frame but no walls. Stepping faster, I could see that the frame held giant windows, a house made of glass. Stood before it, I cupped my hand over my eyes, peering through. There were vines growing inside. A wooden door in one end was the only solid piece. A blast of humid air hit my face with the smell of deep, dark green as I stepped across the threshold, spinning to pull the door closed behind me. Shards of daylight cut through fronds that brushed the transparent ceiling. Ivy drooped everywhere, coiled round table legs holding pots bigger than me, up the bones of the little glass house and across the sky above. My muddy shoes crunched on the gravel path. Hello, a voice called from somewhere within the jungle. I stood still. Hello! A boy about my height came bouncing along the path, carrying a watering can. Where did you come from? The bracken, and I shall be going back again as soon as possible. Thank you. The house. He set his watering can on the nearest table. You must be a cousin. He pushed up his glasses, head leaned in a smile. I nodded. You must be lost. High, broad fronds quivered in a delicate breeze. Not really. We don't play any games out here, you see. He raised a finger. Out here we work, keeping the greens. No games indeed. Do what? He bit back a chuckle. That is, my father is the greenskeeper. Hard work, I suppose. He pushed at his spectacles again. Shall I show you the way back? Stuffy shrieks were still ringing in my ears. No, thank you. One fat pot sported long, pointed tentacles fanned out like monstrous fingers. He followed my gaze. That one's great, isn't it? It's frightening, he snickered. That's aloe vera. It's aloe vera. Lots of medicinal qualities. Great for burns. Behind the glasses, his eyes were deep earthen brown. Truly, he laughed. Wait till you see what's inside. He gripped one of the smaller tentacles near its base, bending sharply so it snapped off in his hand. The sap is very soothing to the skin. He held it out to me. I let it drop into my palm, jagged edge oozing clear, tacky stuff that rubbed smooth between my fingers. Great for burns, he repeated. The door flew open, smacking the frame and making the little glass house shake. Greenskeeper! Mother's pale face was red at the edges. She stepped inside, huffing beneath her travel bonnet. I stuffed the green finger in my pocket, ducking beneath the cascading boughs of an enormous fir. The boy with the spectacles was already halfway to her. Yes, my lady, I am working for him today. She pursed her lips at him. And who are you? The greenskeeper is my father, my lady. Very well. She pulled off one glove and then the other. I'm afraid we have a lost lamb. She stuffed them in her breast pockets. She's always running off at home. I was sure she wouldn't have gone into the village. Just call me Bo Peep, my lady. What's that? I believe I found your lamb, my lady. Here? She looked up, squinting. Her father said she'd be here. Thick heels crunched along the path. I pondered, ducking under the table. There you are. Strong, thin fingers caught my arm. Didn't get very far, did you? He stood unmoving near the open door. She paused in passing, scanning him. What did you say your name was? I didn't. His gaze fell as he bit his lip, glasses sliding. Young man, her hand found her hip. I will tell your master how helpful you have been, if only I may give him your name. Fletcher, my lady. He gave a little nod, then pushed at his spectacles. Daniel Fletcher, at my lady's service. A sharp sigh. Thank you. She released in my arms, stepping back through the doorway. His eyes followed me as I passed. Corazon, she called from outside. Come along. We must take them to the old beach, Mother laughed across the breakfast table. And you'll come, won't you, Bill? For old times? I'm afraid the time has made me old, said he. But the children will have a fine time of it. An afternoon. Yep. Haha. Sorry. An afternoon spent following the surf up and down the sandy beach. My arms turned red after an afternoon. Yeah. I spent my arms turned red, skin taut and sore. I spent a fitful night in the stuffy attic room, sleeves of my nightdress rolled up, awoken with each toss and turn by a sting that never truly went away. It's great for burns, including this kind. I arose at first light, rummaging through my things, but the spiny green finger had withered, tucked away for weeks, its sap gummy and dry. I tossed off my nightdress, slipping into a short-sleeved frock and stepping into my shoes, still gritty and damp. Early sun peeked through rounded trees as I made my way across the huge, flat lawn, cool breeze, offering some relief. Would he be there? Surely not so early. Would it be locked? Had I seen a lock? Realizing as it came into view I was not sure I would get in, I supposed it didn't hurt to try. No lock. The knob turned easily, and I stepped cautiously through, easing it shut. I turned and tiptoed along the gravel, long, spiny fingers in my sight. Just squeezing in an extra feeding, he called from beyond the many fronds. Pebbles ground beneath my careful step as I crept towards it. I'll just snap off a piece and fly. Hello? I stood before it, green spikes reaching above my head towards the morning sky beyond the glass. Which one? Oh, hello. He trod into view, surprise sliding quickly into mirth. I thought Father was being awfully quiet. Sorry, I folded my hands behind my back, wincing. He straightened his spectacles, taking a harder look at me before glancing at the spines beside me. You look rather crisp and sandy. Lost your aloe, did you? It dried up. He nodded, fair hair bouncing on his forehead. You'll need a bigger piece anyway for that. He considered the plant a moment, reaching out and snapping off a fairly long piece, presenting it to me across both open palms. My lady. Thank you. I took it with one hand, flinching as the weight of it pulled my arm against my dress. I want to never visit the seaside ever again. Why's that? He chuckled. Too sunny. Precisely. Bright sun ducked behind dense, eerily still foliage. Why couldn't I stay in the woods? We have trees here. It's not the same. What's it like up there? Shady. And if I go in the right direction, I can walk all day without meeting anybody. He sighed gently. Sounds lovely. We go back in 2 weeks. Lots of pine trees up there? I suppose so. It's actually a slightly different climate, you see. He gestured broadly, light glinting through dark eyes. Every zone has different flora. These here, he waved towards the overflowing tables, are mainly tropical. So they're extra thirsty first thing in the morning. He trailed off, blushing, the fingers of one hand tugging at the other. The greenhouse keeps them warm? Arms aching. I tried not to grip the big green finger too hard. That's right. He smiled. We have one of the most diverse collections in the country. That's pretty interesting, actually. We have, I wish I could stay and see them, but sun poked between the fronds, reminding me of my mission. If she catches me out here again, I'm for it, you know. He straightened his glasses above a little frown. A serious woman, no doubt. Yes, well, hot air seemed to get thicker with every breath. Thank you. A sharp little nod sent fair hair bouncing. Very welcome, my lady. Hurrying back the way I had come, I scurried up to find Lulu still gently snoring. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I cracked it open, digging out sticky innards and spreading them across my forearms and hands. Refreshed and relieved, the morning breeze found the high window as I found real sleep at last. The locomotive slinked northwards through bright parched fields, and the carriage ride after was stuffy and bumpy, but at last, the lattice windows shone familiar angles, the inch of gravel echoing off haggard parapets. I was handed my bag, floating up the sagging stone steps and beneath the rusting portcullis, past the dark old guards' quarters, crossing the shadowy corner of the gray courtyard. I pushed open the heavy door, carrying a dreamlike hush with me up the stairs and across the landing. I flopped on my settee, drawing a long, slow, cool breath that burst from me, disrupting the drowsy motes meandering across the late afternoon sun. Books lay in a stack on the table near the camelback chair. My plans had been waylaid the entire season, but the day was still long and warm. I hauled the suitcase into the bedroom, tossing it up on the bed. The heavy latches needed several fingers to budge, and I pushed the suitcase open, digging through dirty clothes. The finger of aloe had made the trip in a small side pocket, its drying husk wrapped in a stocking. Still intact, it belonged with my collection in the sitting room. Stood before the chest of drawers, the door behind me open. I heard the one at the bottom of the stairs, followed by the clip-clop of my mother's step. I tugged at the top drawer just enough to tuck the finger inside, then pushed it shut, spinning around to see her swishing through the doorway. Ah, you're still here. One hand was behind her back as she approached, rounding the settee. This was for your birthday. I ordered it and then forgot to bring it with us. She gave a little shrug. Pity. It would have given you something to do besides mope and skulk about. She revealed a red book with gilt edging, holding it out to me. I am told it is a girl's adventure story. I thought it might occupy you for a while. It went into the rucksack. Beside the flask, some candles and a box of matches, along with the blanket and my brown notebook, nearly full now. I pulled the dress that I had trimmed from the back corner of the wardrobe, slipping it on without a petticoat, longing for the breeze of the heath. Da-da-da, come on. Meeting no one in the corridor, I paused in the kitchen, snatching a few apples and a loaf of bread, which also went into the rucksack. I brought the flask to the spigot in the corner, unscrewing the cap before setting it on the floor to pull the pump with both hands. The spigot gurgled, and I caught as much as I could, the rest splashing in the low corner and away through an iron grate. I dabbed the extra drops with my skirt, tucking the flask into the rucksack, cinching it closed, and hefting it onto my back. The air was fragrant with high summer. Tall spires of foxglove, digitalis purpurea, swayed between the trees. Clusters of pink and purple bells surrounded by clouds of meandering bumblebees, Bombus praetorum. I paused at the edge of the trees, lingering, and I feel like that works better in text than it does through speech, but it is what it is. And that should be in parentheses. Tra-la-la. I paused at the edge of the trees, lingering in the shade to take a sip from my flask, swishing cool water across my tongue. This thing sure was dusty when I found it. How long since those guards' quarters held a guard? Stepping out into the sunny grass, I tiptoed between wet spots, arcing southwards, looking for the little hill. I paused as I approached the mouth of the cave, taking in, "Hey, Alfalfa! What's up? You found us." Me, because Cat's not with me today because I had technical difficulties. But you found me. How you doing? uh, oh my goodness, excuse me. I did bring some water, of course. Not too hot anymore at work. Oh, that's good. Easy to get overheated this time of year. That is for sure. So you're doing better, I guess. That's good. That's good. Had a sip of coffee too. Anyways, we're in the middle of chapter 5. No, we're near the end of chapter 5. Oh no. You missed the introduction of a key character who obviously is going to come back later. That's obviously the introduction of an important character, I realize, because there's far too much detail in that interaction for him not to come back later. So anybody with a keen eye is going to expect that, but I'm fine with that. So, I guess I encourage you to watch from the beginning because I didn't really do a bunch of chit chatting. You're good. That's awesome. To watch from the beginning because we meet a key character for the rest of the entire story. It's all right. Something just fell over there for no apparent reason. It's fine. So yeah, moving right along, I guess. Now we're out. We're outside. We have a rucksack full of stuff, and we're heading towards the cave. Yeah, I paused at the edge of the tree, slit green, laying the six sip from my flask. Okay. Stepping out into the sunny grass, I tiptoed between wet spots, arcing southwards, looking for the little hill. I paused as I approached the mouth of the cave, taking in the warm, sunny, vacant afternoon. I set down the rucksack in the middle of the circle of light at the bottom of the steps, digging out the matches and the candle before turning and slowly making my way inside. Flecks of gold twirled everywhere, flaking off onto my fingers as I traced the wall, my toe inching along the rocky floor. Daylight failed quickly, a shiver passing through me as I held the candle under my arm, striking a match. A rough ceiling arced above my head, flickering shadows beckoning deeper. I followed until I met a boulder reaching down from above, cutting the tunnel diagonally, guarding pure darkness. I could go back. Just another walkabout. No one has to know. No, no, not after waiting all summer. Stooping forwards, I held the candle before me, creeping under the stone big as a carriage. When I could straighten up, I found myself standing in an oblong space, leading away to my right. The floor and walls were smoother here, closed at the far end by a huge pile of stones. Streams of water tinkled across them, lingering in a twinkling pool before flowing away into the earth. Hot wax dripped on my fingers. Hot wax dripping on my fingers, I hurried back to the rucksack. I blew out the candle, sitting on the steps, letting the sun soak into my shoulders as I crunched through an apple. A girl's adventure story doesn't sound half bad. It opened on a day similar to this, a young girl wandering off down a riverbank, chasing after some eccentric old lady's pet rabbit. Oh, it talks. A fairy tale, oh dear. I laughed when she fell in the hole, looking up from the page to toss my apple core into the grass. This girl was stupid, eating and drinking a bunch of stuff in fairyland, and you're sure to never get home. The rabbit orders her about, and she obeys. So stupid. I sighed, my left shoulder now in shadow as the sun crept towards his bed. My bed will be empty tonight. How long will it take for them to notice? I tucked the book away and lit the candle, shouldering the rucksack to creep up the corridor again. No cakes or talking doorknobs here, thankfully, just glowing lichen and bloody great boulders wedged into the ceiling. I crouched, going under, the bag on my back scraping against the dusty rock. Now, once I could stand, I set the bag down near the opening, holding the candle aloft. No talking animals here, and I swear, if I ever meet one of those, I am never going outdoors ever again. Approaching the fallen rocks, I turned the candle sideways above a flat spot, spinning it in my fingers for an even melt, a little mound of soft wax growing on the stone. I planted the butt of the candle in it, returning to the bag for the blanket. But so, was all that in the rabbit's burrow, and so he thought himself in charge? Doesn't matter. Holes like that don't actually lead anywhere, do they? Fairyland isn't real. I folded the blanket like a cushion, setting it on the floor beside the pile of rocks near the candle, opposite the little swirling pool. Cool air wafted from somewhere, raising the hair on my arms. Maybe it would have been better to stay near the opening till the sun went down. Only then, it will be just as dark there. And all the way to the kitchen door, I would never make it. I shivered, running my palms along my arms. Plenty of time now, though. No one would have to know. Next time, I will bring another blanket. I left my cushion where it lay, breaking the candle from its base and returning to the bag. Next time, I will bring my sketchbook and leave stupid fairy stories out of it. Chapter 6. How was your summer? Jane breezed through the old twin doors, bonnet in her gloved hand. Long, I thought back. Elbow on the table, cheek propped in my hand, and hot. It certainly was that. She pulled out her chair, paused to remove her gloves and jacket. And I fear it has not ended. She took her seat, arranging her skirts with a sigh. What a pity that window does not open. She reached into her bag, fanning herself with a handful of papers she produced from it as she said, Now, where were we? Volume 7, CTE through electricity. Thin eyebrows raised. That does sound interesting. She smiled, wisps of tightly wound hair shivering with each flap of the paper. So, read through it and choose your topic. I bit my lip, ankles crossed, ankles swinging. I've already started, and I was really thinking of dioptrics. She chuckled, setting down her papers. What is that? Raising one finger, I crossed the room to retrieve the 7th of the line of big, dark tomes tucked into the far corner. Stood beside my chair, I flipped quickly to the illustrations. It's light. I tapped my favorite picture. I think we have the supplies for some of these. It's like playing with light. So the demonstration is built right in. She clapped her hands together. Very good indeed. That ought to occupy us for a while. Better than any dumb little baby's fairy story. Her sharp green eyes found mine. Did you not enjoy your birthday present? Oh, I groaned. That girl was so stupid. I'm sorry to hear that, said she, shuffling through her bag. Olivia was looking at more jewelry, and I tried to steer her better. I held my breath, the soft tick of the clock on the mantel filling the stuffy little room. No matter, she turned back to me, fanning herself once more. You have a point there, in that fiction is but a garnish on the plate of life. She reached back into her bag, pulling out a deck of large illustrated cards and setting them before her. What is this? She held up the first one with her near hand, continuing to fan with the other. Easy, I nodded. Laurel. One thin eyebrow raised. Laurus nobilis. Good. She set it aside, raising the next. And this one? Sycamore. Acer pseudo. Eyes closed, I flipped back through the pages in my mind. Pseudo Platanus. Good, she crowed. You've been studying. Sort of. Oh. Here we go. A toast to Augustus, the painter said, who's got the grandest old house in England. Seated stiffly at the far corner, I raised my glass of apple juice towards Freddie, the thick ring Mother had lent me rolling on my finger. How old is it again? The painter asked. Father chuckled. Which part? Freddie and I rolled our eyes. Well, it started this part. Well, it started as a monastery, you know. Seated at his elbow, Mother let out a sigh of protest. But this section was completed in the 17th century in preparation for a visit from King James himself. The painter laughed. Which one? The first one, bellowed Father merrily. And what's that got to do with the cattle? Charlie leaned forwards, peering around Carnegie, addressing the other two. Nothing, Father laughed again. They've been here forever, a relic of primordial times. Looming over us on the wall to my left was the portrait of the great beast, his milky coat made glossy by the brush of the artist. I fidgeted inside my heavy frock, stays buttoned to my bottom so that I could not lean forwards without standing up. Freddie's toe bumped mine. How'd you suppose they got that thing to hold still long enough? They shot it, said George coolly from across the table. They did? Freddie pivoted to face him. I did, declared Carnegie. Great brute past his breeding days, just taking up feed. Swift hands removed my half-empty bowl of soup, replacing it with a plate of sliced beef with onions. This isn't him, is it? I stammered, pressing back into my chair. All three men burst out laughing. Here's to you, wild child, always a girl of high passions. Father took a drink, his eyes wandering to the painting beyond me. They make me think of you. Now it was Mother who laughed, the painter's wife beside her tittering along. And why is that? Lulu, stuck between us, passed me a look of sympathetic horror. Scott's book. He gave Mother a slap on the arm. How's that, Olivia? You got the wrong daughter. I beg your pardon. You named the other one after a novel, but that one's sure to live one. All three men were laughing again. I think you've had enough, Augustus, Mother cooed. He shrugged, pouring more. I can handle it. I come from men who slew 1,000 Scots. Right, scoffed Fred, and dumped them all in the lake. What lake? Laughed the painter. You mean that pond that's barely a watering hole? Deep enough for the bones of 1,000 Scots, echoed Carnegie. Legend says you best not touch that water, lest they drag you down there with them. He shot me a look, and my eyes fell to the wet mess on my plate. Sure to live a novel? Sure to not eat this. And besides, Father clapped the painter on the shoulder. Mr. Lanzer is leaving in the morning. Gotta send him off with as big a headache as he gave us. All three men roared with laughter once again. Well, my appetite is ruined, muttered Fred. Lulu nodded glumly. George snickered through a mouthful, swallowing quickly to say, It came from the butcher. All the same, whispered Lulu. And how is that better? I craned my neck to get another look at him. Perhaps best not to know what became of him. The dancing shadows of the freshly lit fire receded as Kathy lit the lamp. She unbuttoned me out of the heavy frock and took it away with her, closing the bedroom door as she left. Sitting on the bed, I unbuttoned my stays, wriggling out of my underthings, Mother's heavy ring rolling on my finger. Setting the ring on the desk, I crawled into my nightdress with a sigh. If only I had copied out that entry. I retrieved a length of embroidery floss from the sewing box on the window seat, threading the ring so that it dangled like a necklace. The encyclopedia had said something about spelling out letters on a table, but failing that, I figured I was limited to yes or no. The firelight flickered away to my right, mantel clock ticking merrily to itself as I sat, stocking feet braced on the rung of the chair, one elbow on the desk with the heavy ring hanging from my fingers. I held my breath, waiting for it to be still. Hello. I cleared my throat. Questions. Got to ask questions. Is anybody there? Doing my best not to move, I craned my head as much as I dared, squinting for any sign of motion. The fire popped, embers settling, coals clinking through onto masonry. I sighed, straightening my shoulders and stiffening my arm. Is anybody there? Almost imperceptibly, the ring began to wiggle, swinging just slightly to and fro, as if in a sleepy nod. A spark shot through me, hot breath caught in my throat. The ring was definitely swinging now. A pretty nifty trick. Maybe start with something simple. Am I a girl? The ring continued swinging slowly to and fro. Well, obviously. Does this ring belong to me? The ring wobbled, ticking on a circle before resuming left to right, as if someone were shaking their head. Clever, clever. Mother would never approve, of course, and she will be wanting it back, along with the big, heavy necklace she had draped over Lulu to sit beside the guests. Left to right it swung, gold gleaming in the lamplight. Do I love my sister? The swing wobbled into a circle again, slowly resolving back into a knot. Not her fault, I suppose, that she's prettier and better at everything. Then you have me and Freddie, a couple of good-for-nothings. Do I love my brothers? To and fro, straight and firm. I frowned. I'm not so sure about the other two. They make me think of you. Is my father crazy? It wobbled left, then right, settling into an oblong orbit. My frown deepened. Scott's novel rested in our own library, of course, illustrated by our illustrious visitor himself, its heroine mad and murderous with sorrow. Is he right about me? The oblong swing became a circle, and I waited, watching as the fire in the grate wheezed and cackled. At last I exhaled, breathing in cool and deep. Will I stay here all my life? Finally, it wobbled, swinging towards me with some force, and then away, a pop in the grate echoing a flare in my heart. The sitting room door rattled and swung open, swift footsteps approaching. I let the ring fall to the desk, hunching forwards, tugging at the knot in the floss. Kathy knocked before entering, huffing as she crossed the room. Where is that ring? Mistress is fair after me for forgetting it. I slipped the floss free, crumpling it in one hand and holding the ring up with the other. Her wrinkled face relaxed with a sigh. Sweet mercy, she plucked it up, tucking it away and turning back towards the door, muttering, this really were a grand house. I wouldn't be doing all this running on my own. The envelope stood propped against the lamp on the table by the sitting room door. My full name inked in a tall, thin script, the return address my uncle's place. The same hand continued on the clean, plain sheet within. To the lovely lamb Corzand, the boy in the greenhouse. I hope this letter finds you cozy at home in the shade of many pine trees, your burns fully healed, but not so well you have forgotten me, the humble greenskeeper. The change of season puts me in mind of the evergreen, and how there are so many up there, and curiosity has got the best of me, I must admit. And so I write to you in the hope you might be willing to send some samples. In return, what can I offer? Whatever it is my lady's heart would desire of me, as I would not be so bold as to presume to know such a thing. In return to, of course, my enduring gratitude for as many seed pods as you will send. Yours, Daniel Fletcher, aspiring nurseryman. Behind the flowery flattery lay an amusing challenge. I could find dozens, but how would I package them? And what did he want them all for? I tucked it back into its envelope, slipping it into my coat pocket on my way to meet Mrs. Lawler. She had requested an unusual spot. Wind gusted at my back as I hurried across the high lawn, brown leaves caught and carried high, clumped together, trembling in low spots. Through the open gate, I followed the footpath along the dell to the fork, a left turn cutting through half-naked trees to arrive at an old wooden footbridge. Old wooden bridge. It's not... Anyway. There she stood, bonnet snugly tied, matching gloves perched on the handle of a polished walking stick. She raised her head as I approached, green eyes sparkling. You're late. I'm sorry. The bridge thumped hollow beneath my boots as the wind fell away, replaced by the sound of rushing water down below. You're certain I cannot bring my notes? You should not need them. She cast a surveying glance across my person. No hat? I shrugged, bare hands deep in my coat pockets, knuckles rubbing paper. Well then, she shrugged in return, shoulders falling back with a sigh. Let us begin. I followed her across the bridge, stacking together every stray scrap of mental notes I could find. What is that? She gestured upwards with her stick. Quercus petrea, Sicil oak. A nod. Good. Easy. Does that one... That's in her head. That's so rude. Easy. Does that one have many uses? Oh, yes, they all do. Mrs. Lawler spoke over her shoulder, wind tossing treetops high above. What are these? She waved her stick at the ground. Mental pages fluttered. Ulex Europaeus. Gorse. I giggled. Like horse. Very good. She made no sign of acknowledgement of my silliness, the bell of her skirt swinging gently just off the ground as she walked, the stick bouncing along beside her. Cresting the ridge, pale gray clouds raced over the shallow valley. The footpath turned to follow the rim, staying beneath the shelter of the trees. And what is that? She pointed her stick again. Pinus sylvestris, Scots pine. The tree's top half was bare like her cousin's. She creaked and groaned in the wind. That one is ill. Mrs. Lawler stopped, turning towards it, gloves resting on her walking stick, thin lips pursed. Indeed. The pods lay nestled among the needles carpet. The pods lay nestled among the needle carpet like fat, scaly caterpillars. I picked up a smooth one, running my thumb along its back before slipping it into my skirt pocket. It might be one or two different things. She stood, leaned on her stick, squinting up the tree. I see no sign of boreholes. Bore. Searching the carpet with my toe, I picked up another smooth one. Boreholes? Boar. Like pigs. A gentle sigh as her gaze fell to me. Boring insects. Beetles make their homes in them. Ooh. Oh. That's supposed to be oh, not ooh. Oh. The half-naked pine creaked and groaned in the wind. How awful. I tucked the pine cone into my pocket. Oh, yes, but easier to control than blight. I nodded, sifting the bed of needles idly. Collecting those now. I held up another, rubbing its smooth back. Therefore, a friend. A friend? Her angled face rounded into a smile. And who is this? I shrugged, both hands in my coat pockets. I met him at my uncle's place. Met him? She blinked above her growing grin. Well, that is interesting. And a pen pal might be just the thing, no? I suppose. She nodded, turning with a twirl of her stick to resume our path. What does he want them for? To study them, I suppose, said I, following after. He's something of a horticulturalist, too. Well, that is interesting, she repeated, lifting her stick towards a cluster of spiny shrubbery. What is this? It starts with a C. C. Gosh, that one was pretty far down. Cystisus scoparius, broom. Right again, she chuckled. You see, I knew you would not need any notes. But my mind's eye had wandered back to what had been my favorite page lately. These directions may suffice for the distillation of any simple spirits. Are they any good for anything? She chuckled. Broom? And stable bedding, I dare say. No, the pine. Oh, yes. Her skirt swung beside the bounce of her stick, wind tossing high leaves to tumble upon us slowly, one by one. The needles make a sharp T, and the sap, she sighed, twisting to smirk over her shoulders. That is not why we are out here in this weather. Feels like chapter 6 was short, but that was chapter 6. So I think we got through chapter 8 with the editing. So what page is this? 57, and I got to about 80. So okay, chapter 7. I sat straight on the edge of the settee in my sitting room, ankles crossed, my toe catching the carpet. I simply cannot imagine the workings of that crooked mind of yours. Mother's dark eyes were hard. So we keep going. Yeah. My throat is a little sore. Coffee's probably not going to help. Let's try some water. Anyways, we've been copy bad, so we're being reprimanded here. Mother's dark eyes were hard, standing before the camelback chair, envelope in hand. Corresponding with some servant boy, as if that will get you anywhere, as if that won't start people talking. She shook the letter at me. I ought to write my brother and have him dismissed, but I cannot take the embarrassment. She smacked it against her skirts with an exasperated sigh. Where is your stationery? My what? Your stationery. Letter in a fist at her hip, she gestured with the other hand. Give it to me. No. She pocketed the letter, crossing towards the bedroom. Best look for it myself. The drawers of my writing desk were slit open and smacked shut, papers shuffling about. She stepped heavily back into the room, standing near the end of the settee, pile of stationery rolled into a fat tube. You shall only correspond with those meeting my approval. She shook the tube in my direction. There must be someone more suitable. I gasped, fingernails dug into the piping of the cushion. But who? You will attend some social outings with your sister. She tucked the tube into her pocket. It is long overdue. My own fault, really. She sighed, crossing back towards the camelback chair before beside the open grate. I am worried for your delicate constitution, you know. And as for this, she produced the letter, ripping it in half, stacking them, and stooping to toss them square into the fire. I will not have it. A lady does not associate with the help. She whirled towards the door, skirts bouncing as she crossed the landing. I leapt from my seat, performing two frantic, silent jetés, tucking my skirts to kneel before the fireplace. Its hot breath in my face, the sweet sting of the flame kissed my wrist and fingers as I pulled the paper out, laying it on the hearthstones. One side of the envelope nearly gone, the letter within was badly singed, only half of it legible. He had started seedlings. Would my uncle really care so much? Ankles crossed, toe pointed, I jiggled against the library table. Perhaps, Mrs. Lawler sighed heavily, but what of it? Your mother wants to help the lower classes, all right, but only on her own terms. What do you mean? Any fool can see the world is not what it used to be. A girl should correspond with whomever she likes, for heaven's sakes. For heaven's sake. She bit her lip, drawing a long breath through her nose. And you have plenty of paper right here, and I can deal with the postman myself. I fell back against my chair, sputtering, at last only managing the obvious. She'll be furious. Mrs. Lawler gave a graceful little wave, stating flatly, she doesn't know everything. Can we share the bench? The blonde girl approached, clutching a book to her chest. I've played every game. I thought I might tear through a chapter. I had snatched something from a shelf, sitting with it laid open across my lap, feet stretched lengthways. The din of voices too pressing to focus, my mind had wandered past the words, back along the quiet carriage ride to the half-finished letter on my desk. Sure, certainly. I sat forwards, shuffling to tuck my skirts. Thank you, she settled on the other end, book closed on her knee. It's all my sister and cousins will talk about, and I gave in at last. Her hand lay across the cover. What is it? That one with the poor American sisters. I hear they all make decent matches in the end. Well, she paused to catch my eye, a hand on her cheek. All except the one who dies, of course. Sounds dreadful. And they made you read it. No, but Joe is their hero. What's so great about him? She laughed sharply under raised brows before tumbling on. She is one of the sisters. Fingers drummed on the hard brown cover. You haven't read it. I shook my head with an exaggerated frown. Do you like it? She sighed, looking across the room full of other girls playing cards, doing needlework, gossiping. It's not my favorite, but I never much liked books. And anyway, I think Amy's got it more right than Joe. Does she? She says she wants to be great or nothing at all and wants to marry rich. Of course. I can't believe you haven't read it. A smirk grew slowly across her face. Take my copy. She held it out to me. It will give you something to talk about at these things. Oh, no. I gripped my borrowed volume. I couldn't take yours. Then I might have to read it. It's my sister's, she snickered, leaning in. She's read it 100 times. I'll tell them I lost it and get my own. Then she can borrow mine. I clasped it on my lap on the ride home, watching the summery dusk bounce past the carriage window. Where did that come from? Mother nodded towards it. A girl, Mary, gave it to me. Did she? Eyebrows raised. And why would she do that? To get a new copy? Lulu giggled. Really? She said everyone's read it, and I should write her and tell her what I think. Which one is it? Lulu leaned forwards from the opposite bench. I lifted it, displaying the small golden circles surrounding the title. She nodded, sitting back. I read that one last year. And how did you find it? Asked Mother. A bunch of American girls. One of them is a difficult match. It is true. Everyone loves it. Mother was studying her folded hands. Perhaps actually reading it would do you some good, Coco, dear. Perhaps it would make good kindling. Anyway. Oh, my nose. It's driving me nuts. Light and a waft of wintry air came through the library door with Mrs. Lawler. Good morning, my dear. She closed it behind her, moving with unusual briskness, green eyes twinkling as she crossed the room, a small box in her gloved hands. Postman had a parcel for you. She set it at my elbow, pocketing her gloves as she rounded the table. Let me light the lamp and we shall see what he has sent in return. The little square box was wrapped in brown paper tied with twine, encircled with thick black arrows pointing upwards. Leaning my cheek on my hand, I studied the box a moment. My name and Danny's thin script. Beneath was a layer of sackcloth, the box within packed with dark, cakey earth. Nestled within the blackness shone a tiny green star, and inside the lid was a card. Echeveria. Lots of sun and a little water. 5 chubby points lay clustered round the buds of more, reaching out in all directions. A darling houseplant. Her smile was complicated by a web of lines above her eyes. You must keep it in your bedroom. Those south-facing windows get the most sun. And the letter says, Dear Sandy, regrets that I could not send you a piece of the aloe. That tropical monster has no small shoots which may be easily pruned. Please accept this little beauty instead, as a symbol of my truly endless gratitude for the addition of the little trees. I have managed to sprout 3 so far, just like a twig with bristles. They do not like it in the greenhouse. I have them round back at our place in pots. Do you think they will make it through the winter? I could bring them indoors, but they will need planted somewhere eventually. Please give the strongest possible thank you to your lovely tutor as well, although I deeply regret having caused you both so much trouble. I understand if you do not write again. Please remember to give the little bud plenty of sun and not too much water. Sincerely, Danny. Mrs. Lawler had not seemed especially troubled. I set the box on the left-hand sill above. Let's see. I'm going to go with does not seem especially troubled. I set the box on the left-hand sill above the window seat, pouring just a bit from the pitcher beside the bed. Kneeling on the cushion, I heaved up the right-hand sill, tucking the letter inside the space underneath. A light rain was falling across the garden. Let's see, with the others. Underneath the windowsill with the others. A light rain was falling across the garden beyond the latticed window, glistening in the late orange sun, peering round fluffy gray clouds. Scooting down the bench, I turned the box so that the little green star was glistening too. Welcome to Bexwold. New scene. Bet mine's longer. Lulu and I sat facing each other, she on one drawing room sofa and I on the other, each with a needle and thread and a bowl of popcorn. Probably, my string held only a few kernels, dangling unevenly. Oh, come on, she gave a pouty little frown. Have a little fun. I will. I plucked a bit of white from my bowl, bringing it to the needle as I muttered, when I can go. It does not matter whose is longer. Mother stepped off the stepladder, scooting it along the base of the big fir tree in the window, so long as you wind them evenly. She leaned out from behind the greenery, eyes gleaming darkly. Not like last year. Lulu snickered, reaching for another kernel. I'm sorry, I can't reach up there. Coco will help you this time. That ungainly hot length has got to be good for something. Back atop the stepladder, she carried on, hanging big red baubles as she had taken from a box nearby. Your father is coming home, and everything is going to be perfect. Don't you just love her? Ooh, the underside of the log shimmered orange. I sat watching, flipping idly through mental pages, tonguing a popcorn kernel in my teeth. Mother smacked her hands together. All right, Charlie, George, she said to them, sitting at her elbow at the high round table. Come and get your presents. Girls? Fred and Lulu rose from the opposite settee, Fred sighing as he passed, lining up by age before the tree, to each receive a parcel and give a kiss in turn. Inside mine was a golden cross the size of an acorn cap, strung on a fine gold chain. Fresh from the bath, wrapped in my housecoat, I leaned against the bed, untangling my wet hair with a comb. Through the closed bedroom door, I heard the door to the outer room open and my mother's step approaching, Kathy behind her. She opened the door and swooped into the bedroom, planting herself expectantly in the middle of the rug. Where is your cross? You will wear it to service. She surveyed me. You still do not have your hair up? You are supposed to wash. You are supposed to wash, not go for a swim. She approached me with a dramatic sigh, plucking the comb from my fingers. Kathy will tie it up for you. Kathy? The older woman entered, a large cloth bell swinging from her grip. Mother's firm hand directed me to stand before the tall mirror. Tonight, her pale face hovered just above mine. You shall be a lady. My long petticoats brushed the snow, bobbing round me at strange angles as I navigated the little carriage door. Squeezed in beside Fred, the front of my skirts jutted up off the floor, frigid air seeping into my pantalettes. Fred's eyes were wide, though he tried not to look. That's a new dress, isn't it? Oh, shut up. I drew my fur-lined cloak round me. Lulu climbed up next, tucking her flowing skirts, making room for Mother to arrange herself beside the window. Just us girls, then? Asked Fred, as the door was shut and the carriage lurched into motion. Mother squinted viciously in his direction, her gaze landing next on me. Where is your cross? My hand flew to my chest. I must have forgotten it. She clicked her tongue. Honestly, I give you one instruction. Her eyes drifted out the window, pale figures flickering by as the coach passed the procession of villagers heading for the church. Coming to a stop against the low wall cut into the hill, I followed Lulu up the long stairs, my breath puffing clouds in the cold, still air. Warm light and the buzz of a crowd greeted us at the door, my skirts bouncing with every step as we passed up the aisle. They bulged as I squeezed into the pew, the whole cage twisting as I sat. A piano chord was struck and everybody stood. My skirts tugged in several directions. I felt a crunch beneath my shoe. Seated again, I lifted my toe. The bottom rung of the little cloth cage was in two inside the fabric. The priest began to speak. Mother pulled her Bible from her pocket. "Let us pray," said the priests. And priests? Priest, singular? That's fun. And I was obliged to stand again. Stepping forwards with my other foot, I felt another crunch. Flames roared inside. I slid the grate open and brushed my palms on one another. Here comes a truck. That wasn't the loud one. Brushed my hands on one another, sitting back on the rug in the dark bedroom. I had left the bed to stoke the fire, lingering there, reaching for paper and kindling each time it began to die back. The crinoline lay draped over the wooden chest at the foot of the bed, tines under thin fabric grinning at me in the flickering light. "What have you done to it?" Mother's voice rang off the walls. Had rung? Should that be had rung? Because this is in the past. I think would be more clear. Off the walls, as Kathy held it up for inspection. "Can't you behave for a single evening?" The grate popped and fizzled, flames settling into embers. She had grabbed it from Kathy, shaking it as she paced towards me. "Every decent woman in Christendom wears them. If you had just the slightest bit of decorum, just the slightest bit." I don't know why my nose is itchy. So bad. Driving me nuts. Stopping abruptly, she had looked over it one last time, tossing it across the chest with a scoff and bobbing away without another word. I bunched my nightgown at my knees, crawling across the rug to run my fingers along an exposed slat. It wiggled and I tugged on it, holding up the jagged piece in the dying firelight. Let's see. How about we tugged it free? Thank you guys for giving me a little bit of patience to do a little bit. Having the patience to let me do a little bit of editing. I appreciate that. Crawling back, I slid the grate open, dropping it among the coals. It bowed and curled before a flash of orange pierced and consumed it. I got up, dragging the crinoline from the chest and laying it beside the open grate. "Awfully cold in here, isn't it?" I asked the fat green star on the windowsill. Deep snow lay in huge drifts against the house, swallowing the big stairs beside the garden, the hedges green islands in a choppy white sea. A fresh fire flickered in the sitting room grate, orange against the pale light from the small window. "Sit down." Mother motioned towards the camelback chair, Kathy hovering nearby, beside a large bowl on the table by the door. Scooting it in front of the grate allowed me to watch as water was mixed with a packet of grayish lavender powder, fizzing and bubbling as Kathy stirred with a large wooden spoon. "Now what?" Mother frowned wistfully down at me. "Such a pity, is it not? My eldest daughter, so unfortunate." "Spit an image of his lordship, my lady," said Kathy, not unkindly. Yes." Mother reached out a long, pale hand, brushing hair from round my wide eyes as I sat, hands tucked beneath each side of my skirt, gripping the cushion. The same weak forehead. Mother's frown twisted sideways. "The narrow face works on a man, but really, the complexion is the least of her problems, with a chin that could cut glass." She sighed, turning to the bowl. "Still, we must focus on what we can hope to change, must we not?" "Yes, my lady," said Kathy, as the spoon was taken from her. "Steady her." Mother ran the spoon through the mixture. "I understand it makes them want to squirm." Kathy stooped over the chair, a hand on each of my bare forearms, pressing gently into the upholstery. The smell of her dusty linens was obliterated by sour lilacs and rust as Mother swooped in from above, smearing the tip of the spoon across the top of each cheek. The sting brought tears to my eyes, blinking them away only inviting fumes, the top of each cheek sliced with pain. I wriggled against the chair, Surging shock, roiling flares within, the grip on my arms tightening. Thoughts of finding Kathy's foot with my heel melted into raw anguish, escaping in a blazing wail. Oh, stop. Mother clicked her tongue as she swooped in again, this time with a damp cloth. It has to be strong stuff to do anything for those awful freckles. The relief was instant, but not complete. Kathy stood back and I raised my hands to cover my face, fat tears biting the tops of my cheeks as they fell. Mother sighed again. I suppose that is enough for now. The spoon was placed back in the bowl. Pull yourself together and get dressed. I expect to see some progress on your needlework. Each cheek bore a shiny red caterpillar which continued to sting for days, withering slowly to little white lines which remained ever after. Mm. As soon as I could get out, I was carrying the rucksack filled with blankets through the cold wind, between naked trees swaying beneath the churning gray sky, and bringing it back empty. This time, I would be prepared. First flush of spring saw me, father's old pullover layered over my trimmed frock, packing bread, cheese, and apples from the larder. Setting out from the kitchen door, I headed straight across the high flat lawn. Jumping the deer catch and leaving the footpath, I traipsed on up the hill through short, brown grass, my breath puffs of hot mist. Sunlight melting weight from my limbs, I followed tall. I'm glad you wrote it to hang on. To mention that they're freckles, yeah. Make it clear they're trying to remove freckles. Thank you for that note. It's the kind of thing that's always appreciated. Don't be embarrassed. Anybody out there to tell me that you didn't quite understand something, because that's exactly the kind of thing I need to know. Yeah. So, sunlight melting weight from my limbs, and I followed tall, racing clouds over the crest of the hill, the crumbling yellow face of the basil smiling in the distance before the thick gray wall. The wall bowed and crumbling. I remember I first thought they were trying some folk remedy for acne. Yeah. I mean, they're all blemishes, right? Anyway. The wall bowed and crumbling. I approached a low spot, bunching up my skirts to climb over and through some sleeping shrubbery. Here I'm at a dirt road, hopping over wet ruts and on, cresting the next hill towards the heath. Sweating despite the wind, my throat parched, I pressed on, the now familiar line of the little crag coming into view. Are you really going to stay out there? I imagined Danny might ask. Won't you be cold? It doesn't bother me. I'll be fine. But won't they miss you? I snorted at this, fumbling with the rucksack for a candle. Not likely, not till spring lessons begin. And anyway, let them look. Beyond the hanging boulder in the big open space, I used the candle in my hand to light another, wedged into a niche in the wall. Pretty fine hiding spot, I have to admit. She's imagining him talking to her. Not that she's imagining this. She's not crazy. She's not hallucinating. I certainly think so. Setting down the rucksack, I stuck the candle in a little brass holder beside the pile of blankets. He probably wishes he had something like it when his father is ordering him about. I cupped my hands, helping myself to a drink from the silvery pool. Maybe someday he could stay down here with me, after I tidy up a bit more. In my mind, he scoffed. Not before you come and see my saplings. I pulled an apple from the bag, crawling between the blankets and nibbling in the flickering yellow light. Maybe once I am too old to be stuck in the nursery, I could pay my uncle a visit. In a big proper frock and big hat and traveling gloves. Maybe I could walk through the crowd on my own and purchase the ticket myself. Finished with my apple, I blew out the candles, leaving my cozy nest to feel my way back along the musky corridor. Bright sun cut a sharp shaft across the mossy steps, and I lingered after tossing my apple core, letting light soak into my shoulders. Little brown and white chaffinches, fringilla chalebs, hopped and pecked among the tufts of wintry grass, and I pulled my sketchbook from my pocket, leaning against the shaggy opening in the hill, trying to catch their outline. The sun sank behind the crag, the wind gusted cold, and I retreated back along the glimmering corridor, fingers and toes finding my way past the hanging boulder to my little nest. I had a candlelit supper of bread, cheese, and water before beginning to nod. Blowing out the candles, I covered myself entirely with one quilt, curling up on two more. The dark stillness was broken only by the gentle tinkling sigh of the water and my own hot breath stoking deep embers. The water was cool, but when I pulled back my fingers, they were warm and sticky with blood. I jerked awake in the darkness, muscles stiff, breath damp on my lips. Stretching, my hand met something wet, and I jumped, tumbling over the rucksack, chills seeping into my skirts. Crawling, I found the candle. The match is still in my pocket. Kneeling, I held it aloft, tossing back the blanket to reveal a dark, shiny smear, the lines of my fingers unmistakably red. And anyway, let them look. I stumbled to the pool, a twisting queasiness settling over me as I rinsed my fingers. Returning to the stack of blankets, I dragged one from the bottom, wearing it as a cloak as I crept back along the corridor, tiny light in my grip flickering off jagged walls. The mouth of the cave still dark, I blew out the candle, settling on the mossy steps to watch the stars, a sickly coil swirling in my gut. I did not see her lying there at first, tucked among matching white mask cap and bedclothes. Mother? Stood beside the tall bed, one shaky hand still gripping my quilt cloak. I slipped the other around her soft fingers. Mother. She jerked up, both hands flying to her face and pushing up the mask. What? She blinked hard, homing in on me. Corzan, good gracious! Her dark eyes narrowed. Where have you been? I wilted against the bed, cloak slipping. I'm dying. What? One hand hopped to her breast, the other tugging at the bedspread. I nodded, pulling my cloak close again. I'm bleeding, and I feel like I'm going to die. One dark eyebrow drifted upwards. Bleeding where? I pulled the cloak back over my head, biting back nauseous flares. In your private area. I peeked out in surprise. Her laugh was sharp. You are not dying, silly girl. The mask slipped off, lost in the snowy duvet. She leaned forwards, continuing in a lower voice. You are becoming a woman. Surely this is the most unladylike thing yet. What does that mean? It means you will make some man a useful wife one of these days, after all. My belly twisting and sparking, I wedged my hand against the mattress, steadying myself. She clicked her tongue. Really, you might at least keep your grimy melodrama off my satin. She shooed me off the bed, wiping at the milky blanket. She jangled the bedside bell, and a moment later, the corner door creaked open. Yes, my lady. Make this child a bath, please. Yes, my lady. And find her a belt. A single raised finger enunciated the gravity of the occasion. Her menarche has arrived. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my god. That's it. That's where we stop for now. Oh boy. So it's not even after. I feel like that part was shorter than the first part. I don't know. How is everybody doing? How is everybody feeling? My nose is driving me insane. Does my nose just itch when I'm nervous? Like, is that what this is? I don't know. I don't know. You think it works? That's the end of part one. That's the official end of part one. That's the first part of book one. That's it. That was what we just did. And now I guess I'm gonna get to go back and reread it all for Belle. Because I can't expect anybody who excuse me, listened to all through all of the stuff that we've been done so far. Oh my god, that's worse. Anyway, I can't expect somebody who's already listened to listen to it again, but maybe it would be more accessible that way. I could actually share it with other people who aren't interested in the live stream bibbly babble. That wouldn't offend you or something, would it? If I actually got around to making another version that's just me reading. I don't know, because you won't be in it. I don't know. So now I get to go back in and delete the one if it's there, the nonsense one, where I almost had some company doing this, some real audio company that I could hear, you know. Not that you guys hanging out in the chat isn't great. It's fucking great. I wish there were more people here. Whatever, I'm so hard to find these days, I think. Still on Wednesdays. Still chugging along on Wednesdays, you know. I don't know. I'd like to maybe in the autumn come back doing some more videos. But we'll see. We'll see. You know, I'll have to look and see. You know, probably Wednesday. I should probably stick with Wednesdays, right? If I'm trying not to lose people. Yay, more videos here. I can't help it. Oh my goodness. I watched this very amusing, well thought out video today about why Philosophy Tube is a terrible person. Meanwhile, the whole time this guy's referring to them as she. This person uses no critical thinking in making their videos and is, you know, a shill and a hack. And I'm just like, you don't say. A dude who thinks he's a woman is bad at critical thinking, you say. Fascinating. Who'd have thought? And it's just if he's going to sit there and criticize, you know, and it was admittedly shocking, this lack of. I read this cool book. Let's talk about it. Right? Really? Who knew? Right? Yeah. No, but it's still ironic to sit there and criticize that. Criticize Philosophy Tube. Meanwhile, totally towing the line and, you know, speaking the talk, talking the talk, whatever, using the lingo, you know, and entertaining the idea that this person is a woman, because that's obviously a conclusion he reached through engaging his critical thinking. And I'm going to give the guy one more shot because, you know, that's a blind spot for a shocking. I'm almost used to that shockingly stupid blind spot. Let's see, what was this? I just kind of, this is not an endorsement or denial. I just kind of wander around YouTube and like, no, we're gonna delete that. Yeah, because it's still waiting. That one from 2 hours ago is still fucking waiting. Was it Brad and Panada? I don't think so. It was Quarantine Collective. I've never seen this guy before. It appears to be just a dude. At least it was. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure he has help behind the scenes because a lot of most people do these days, I guess. At least have an editor. But he, like I say, it was. He seemed to be really annoyed at the bad philosophy aspect of it, which is extremely annoying. You know, and I had to give him that, but it was just. What can you say? Never heard of him. I know Bad and Panada, but not this dude. Yeah, right. Thank the algorithm. I don't know. It was an interesting video, but it was just so damn funny. And it's the kind of thing where his video was much longer than my response to it would be, because I pretty much just said it. Just the damn irony of that. And is it any wonder that nobody takes the left seriously right now? You know, because he was complaining about, I think this was this video, about something not being Marxist. You know, the Philosophy Tube doesn't understand the fucking arguments he's supposed to be making. No shit, right? And it is just stuff like that I see every so often that I'm like, that right there would be fun to respond to. Not to mention all the stuff that's going on in the news. You know? I don't know. Am I being a fool and underselling myself that Right. King Critical does a good job of putting Philosophy Tube in his place. Yes, he really does. Yes, he really does. Uh, am I underselling myself? Am I undercutting myself? See there. I remembered what I was starting to say before you interrupted me, and I didn't used to be able to do that. That's the sleep. That's the extra sleep. Am I undercutting myself by assuming that nobody's interested in my direct opinion on stuff, that I shouldn't just get in front of the camera and talk about stuff that's happening? It does appear that basically that's what everyone else does. So, I may do some of that. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? The nothing burger this channel is right now, right? I mean, not that I don't sincerely appreciate everybody who actually listens to the readings that we're doing, and especially this one. I do want to say I was a bit disappointed last reading I did. I didn't actually get any comments whatsoever. I was hoping for at least a couple. Please do leave a comment if you have a thought on the subject of this video. Anything helpful or kind, Please don't insult me. Because, well, all I know is that it's interesting to see people's opinion and how they got there. Right. Like I say, maybe I'm just underselling myself because what am I special? You know. On the other hand, I have this monetized channel. It would be a pivot that wouldn't be such a hard pivot and wouldn't be a ridiculous thing to do based on the community I've already built and what viewership I have already, you know, built up. Probably easier too. Oh. And, as far as what's going on in American politics right now, I guess I should call somebody. I don't know. I am so out in the weeds as far as, I don't know. I'm a registered Democrat in Tennessee. I feel like nothing I say to my representative is going to make any difference to them. So that's kind of fun. I wasn't going to vote for them anyway. I guess that's what I'm saying. Oh, this is driving me crazy. I also think that people's attention span doesn't allow them to listen to anything longer than a TikTok. And it makes chapters too much for their brain to comprehend. Are you using text to speech or speech to text? That was a little bit of word salad there, I think. Um, I also think that's kind of mean. I cannot be the only person in this world yearning for long, deep things, right? After 20 fucking years at least of everything getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. Bloody autocorrect. Oh, nice. I don't know. The guy at the kids camp this week told me that my kid has the best attention span of the whole group. So apparently limiting screen time works. It might be mean, but it's unfortunately true. Well, I guess I don't think that's permanent or. And I've noticed a lot of the older, like Gen Z, who are starting to enter the workforce, and they're not stupid, right? A lot of them, anyway. So, and some of them are my kids, so I am biased in this regard. But so, accordingly, I've interacted and encountered a lot of these kids as they've been growing up. And I don't think it's permanent, but I think it's a problem. Oh, yeah, no, it's definitely a problem. I don't mean to be Miss Susie Sunshine over here. Obviously, that would be naive. But at the same time, when things are genuinely dark, I feel like there's a lot of fear mongering goes on still, you know, and I don't want to engage in any of that. Um, there is hope for your attention span. Assuming you're still here, anybody who's watching this, it's been an hour and a half, so thank you. Oh, really? It only took us an hour? Yeah, that second part was definitely shorter. That's okay. Saved my throat. It feels bigger. I feel like there's more goes on. There's clearly some of the momentum building, right? And then the climax is uh, she gets, the scars. Her mother does the thing to her face. So she plans basically to run away as best she can. I mean, there's nowhere to really go. And doesn't manage to do that either because material limitations are what they are. I don't know. I would love to discuss with somebody sometime some of the symbolism that's in there. What is it, little man? I'm still on camera. What is it?
Sorry.
What is
I'm
it?
trying to fix Dad's chair.
What happened to Dad's chair?
Nothing big. You know that two things that go that switch the chair? One of them doesn't work, and I'm trying to fix it. And I think I did, but I don't know.
You should go get your brother and leave it alone.
He's been in the bathroom. He peed. It's been like 6 minutes.
Well, it doesn't take very long to break something, does it? Go back in the house. Don't touch it anymore. Tell your brother.
No. It's always been broken. I'm just trying to fix it now.
Oh, Dad's old chair.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. So yeah, not to bring everything back to me, but did you have any new thoughts about the book as we went through it? You can always send me more to read offline as a beta reader. We can discuss them too. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I have not managed to get to it this season. I am, like I say, looking forward to, next month. He doesn't go back to school till the 12th, but yeah, getting into autumn, like I said, I'm resting up now. And so that when I have time to do anything, I have the energy to do stuff too. That's my goal. So maybe by Christmas I'll have part 3. I don't know. If you really like, I can send you it in chunks just to get impressions as I go. I do that to people around in my family. I do that to them. I will snatch my son mostly and have him read it and just ask him for impressions. So if you think that would be fun, we might do that. I suppose I should join a writers group, but I don't know. I don't feel like it's ready for that. I don't feel like I'm ready for that yet. Chunkies are good. Okay, cool. And obviously we'll be, in touch. It's going to take us a while to get through Caliban. Oh, speaking of which, we're not doing anything next week because you're going to be in the woods, right? We're skipping another week and coming back. Would that be the 3rd week of July? Isn't that right? But yeah, that's top of my list this autumn is to get back to part 2. I probably said this before. I have an entire complicated scene to fabricate at the beginning. I have a bunch of research I need to do, and it's just not happening right now. It's just not. And it's fine. It's a couple of months. Oh no, a couple of months with my kids. Yeah, it's fine. 2/3 done with Caliban. Oh, okay. Well, so then in the autumn, I'm gonna have to come up with something about something else to do anyway to keep the channel going. Were you gonna read something? Do you want me to read something else? That might be fun. Assuming I could get the damn thing to work. Mm-mm-mm. And I sincerely need to just read this book later. Like I said, like a year from now, this is draft three. All kinds of stuff in this needs to be worked into, or like book two and three. Like, no spoilers, but we could read. I plan on reading anyways. I've got 3 books lined up. Oh yeah. Do you mind telling us reminding us what they? I'm sure you've told me about. And you can read whatever you want, basically. I trust you to not put on something horrible. This one is spot on. Like, so incredibly relevant to everything that I do. There was one other one that we talked about that sounded good, and I'll be damned if I can remember what it was. Mm. And if I start feeling my brain really coming back online, when I have some more time in the autumn, maybe I'll make a few videos then. Oh, and you know what we were saying about 2029 and whatever, when the liberals are going to swoop in and try and, be their savior complex is going to be an absolute overdrive and whatever. And everybody's going to be all for it, right? So they're basically going to have carte blanche to do whatever they want, which is kind of terrifying. Um, I literally just saw something by somebody else the other day talking about how liberalism needs to get its action back, basically. I was like, yep, that's the beginnings of that's going to, not that he's the only person. I assume he's not the only person thinking that. That thought is out there. It's going to be, ugh. Just, as if the liberal technocracy is any better. But I was thinking this, and this was making me laugh last night because that I know somebody. I used to date somebody, um, who was 10, 15 years ago a big Elon Musk tech bro. Like, that was a big part of his identity, was that he was, on the front row, had a front row seat for all that, and knew all the right people to listen to, and yeah, and it was true. He talked about a lot of stuff before it became mainstream. But like, back then they were all liberals, right? And espoused all the right thinking liberal lines. And obviously the tech bros have gone, like, those two things, like the militant liberals, if you call them, if you'll allow me, and the tech bros have gone, you know, separate ways, really hardcore over the last decade. And I just wonder, like, what those people had to choose a side, right? Wild politics, feminists, globalists. Yes, 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 yes. I think that's the one we talked about that sounded really cool to me, anyway. Um, there are just a couple people who I think about sometimes, and I wonder how the last decade has treated them. People I don't talk to anymore since I moved down here. You see my first book, The Gendered Brain? No, that's weird. Why in the heck would it censor that? Why would it censor that? These people are so batshit. I'm so sorry, honey. The other reason it's good to have you live is it can't do that to you. You know? Mm. I love how everybody else knows Jordan Peterson is a joke now. Anyway, so probably gonna go soon so I can have some lunch. And I wager you have stuff to do with your day too. We don't want to make this too bloated in case anybody just came along to listen to the book. Do I see it now? No, no, I still don't. I still don't see anything. It's okay. You can email them to me. I was just, for curious minds at home in case anybody was watching. It's the same general vein anyway, right? We're not gonna be taking a crazy left turn anytime soon. Yeah, okay, thanks. That should do it. It's all gonna be, feminism and global political history. It's global socio-political history. I don't know. It's where all of these disciplines kind of. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'll admit it was a little rough going. The Federici was a little rough going for me at first, but as we've gone on, I really, really loved it. It makes me think. I think about it, outside of these. Oh, what was it? Book on Operation Paperclip. Blowback. Okay. Well, that's probably enough to keep us occupied through the end of the year. If your throat can handle it, if you don't mind. Like I say, I will probably start. I have this monetized channel. I might as well try and do something with it. And I should probably pivot at least a little bit, considering the lack of traction I've managed to garner thus far. I mean, that's just rational, right? Was banned from publishing until Forbidden Books published it. Nice. Nice. Freaking banning books. The very definition of authoritarian, Just another day in the liberal West. Oh, the hypocrisy. See, and this is what I'm talking about. I would love to write a short video essay on liberal hypocrisy and have several examples. Something like that. Or and why exactly it is that bothers me so much as a liberal minded person. You know, techno feudalism. I've read Blowback before, but I want to go back. Is that a book? Yeah, that's a book. Okay. That one sounds terrifying. Mm-mm. Oh, yeah. And oh my gosh. Some of the philosophy, straightforwardly, some of the philosophy coming out of, oh my God. What's his name? I can only think of his stupidly pretentious handle. Yarvin. Some of that philosophy is actually really familiar to me because, again, I have been moving. And I didn't just meet that guy and date him for almost a decade randomly. I've known a lot of people who were liberal 10, 15 years ago, and here comes the loud one. Oh, could he stop? We'll get to hear some more in a second. That's great. Anyway, yeah, I've known a lot of people like that. These arguments are not unfamiliar to me, and I would like to maybe counter them from a philosophical standpoint because it needs it. And I think that might be fun. I feel like there's not necessarily a whole lot to sink my teeth into countering Christian theology. I feel like that's been done a lot. Not that it doesn't need doing again, apparently. We dealt with the is feminism demonic. I keep going back to that because it's so much fun to me. Because, by a certain twisted standard, yes, in that it is destructive of old patriarchal modes of living and being and understanding the world. Um, you know, so if you see everything that goes against the Christian order as demonic, then yes, feminism is demonic. But like I say, I feel like I, I don't know. Do a lot of people really convert to Christianity? I feel like a lot of young people are experimenter, and that's kind of like experimenting with hard drugs in that you may never recover. Um, you may seriously hurt yourself, get yourself into some serious trouble. Experimenting with religion as a young person, but yeah, I just don't. I don't know. It's me. I don't find that stuff as interesting because, like, obviously, no, they don't. I don't see them at least, but I'm not. But I'm Canadian. Oh shit! No, they don't. What? Who don't what? I have been just rambling so much. Um, but yeah, so I think the philosophy is much more approachable from a lot of different angles as opposed to Christianity, which is really only approachable from a Christian angle. And I just don't see, like, how do you argue against the idea that a guy who was executed 2,000 years ago is going to ensure the immortality of your soul or whatever? No, wait, the soul's immortal anyway. He keeps you away from hell, is what it is. Anyway, like, how do you argue with? We don't have a lot of Christian fundamentalism up here, right? And I feel like a lot of places don't, um, except the White House, which is why I mention it. It's the really nasty. It's really weird how the tech bros have cozied up to those people because in my mind those people are all atheists still, aren't they? Or are they? I don't know. Um, like, power is power, I guess. Anyway, I feel like the philosophy is accessible to a lot more people and can do a whole lot more damage. And it's just more interesting to me. So there might be something in the future coming up regarding that. And there probably are still a lot of people in liberal circles who believe a lot of that stuff. Christianity is just a way to control behavior for empires. You're right. Yeah, yeah. Ooh, all right. My stomach is yelling at me. I gotta go. It's 2:30. After 2:30. Oh, so we've been at this for a whole whopping 2 hours. Thank you so much for everybody who tuned in and found this. It's been fun. But yeah, I gotta go. I can't skip meals anymore. Part of the whole resting bit. So I will see you in 2 weeks, honey. You have a good camping trip. And we'll try it again the regular way. All right. In 2 weeks from now, I'm sure whatever the fuck is going on will have sorted itself out, right? I'll be camping, so I'll email you when I'm back. Sounds good. Be safe out there. And I'll see you next time. I'll see everybody next time. Bye, guys. Bye, honey. Ooh.